What's going on, these idiots? It is Deadpool here, bringing some more SCP reactions, and today we got SCP-096 versus SCP-173 by SCP Explained. Be sure to like and subscribe to them. I think SCP-173 is actually going to win, because I saw a video of the Shy Guy going against the SCP-682, and they did have a stalemate a little bit, but like, at the end, the Shy Guy kind of just pussied out, you know? And the power scaler in me is going, well, if 682 is afraid of SCP-173, like, the race apparently, like, killed a bunch of 682s. If he's afraid of 173, he doesn't even want to throw hands with 173. And Shy Guy kind of submitted to 682. He kind of bitched out to him, you know? Then I think 173 is gonna give Shy Guy the hands, you know, sorry. Or he's gonna break the neck, the oversized neck of the Shy Guy. Alright guys, Future Deadpool here, just letting you guys know I will be changing my logo in the coming weeks, and this is what it looks like. I know it still follows the same color scheme and such, but you know, I just wanted to show you guys ahead of time so you guys don't get confused, like, who the fuck is this cunt on my subscribe list? What's going on? But yeah, just letting you guys know, this is gonna be the new logo on the channel. It will go live in probably about 2 weeks, maybe, I don't know, soon. I'll say that, okay, soon, just not immediately, but soon. All right guys, back to the video, but let's get into it. Let's see what they got.
Dr. Dan anxiously paced in his cell. It was the only way he'd been able to occupy himself for the past 6 months, save for pouring through files and, when he was lucky, being able to oversee another failed termination attempt. He only stopped pacing when, for a brief and horrible moment, he realized that Monster was probably doing the exact same thing in its big metal cube at this very moment.
Their 682 looks so weird.
Creature that he'd thrown away his life for a futile shot at killing.
Ew.
Perhaps the whole thing had been a fool's errand. After all, he was formerly a researcher under the employ of the SCP Foundation. Secure, contain, protect.
Okay, I just thought of something. The Shy Guy. I forgot how he works specifically. Like, if you look at any part of his body, does he attack you? Like, or is it just his face? I completely forgot. Like, I know there was that one time with a picture, like, somebody saw a pixel of him on a picture and he went berserk. But if you just, like, look at his legs or something, will he attack you anyways? I forgot. And I also kind of just realized the crux of this battle. 173 doesn't move if you're looking at him. But he can't really look at you either, you know? Like, he's just stuck there. So either they'd have to put 173 like in the middle of a room and then just toss the Shy Guy in and then hope, you know, he like lines up in his line of sight, or like, you know, something like that, because like he's not going to move otherwise. And if he doesn't move, and if that doesn't work, then it's just going to be 2 giant SCPs just standing in a room. You know, that's no fun. Come on now.
They had truly
throw hands.
Beasts like SCP-106, the Nightmarish Old Man, and
Oh,
SCP-352 Baba Yaga in containment cells.
I don't know that
There
one.
was no plans to terminate either of them. They weren't the Global Occult Coalition for 343's sake. Why did Dr. Dan even want to terminate SCP-096 in the first place?
He's
He tried
dangerous.
to explain it to them again and again, but his pleas had fallen on deaf ears.
God damn
In
it.
his mind, the impetus for destroying the Shy Guy was terrifyingly clear. It was a monster that killed anyone or anything that looked at its face.
Oh, it's his
Even
face.
a photograph of it. Even a tiny collection of pixels.
Oh.
And its rage state was
It's his dick. I guarantee you, it's either his dick or like his severed balls.
induced. It seemed that nothing would stop it. It would have an intuitive psychic link to its victim, charge at them at breakneck speed, and only find its zen again once all of them were dead. And if a picture of SCP-096 was leaked onto the internet, it would cause a chain reaction that triggered an XK-class end-the-world scenario. There were plenty of creatures and entities that the Foundation knew about that could theoretically bring about the apocalypse.
What are all they?
096 was the...
Oh, that's the cake that has to be eaten every day, isn't it? Oh, I love that one. Like, if you don't eat it, then it'll double, and it'll keep doubling until like every day, and then it'll like fill up, you know, like the universe eventually. I like that one. I like that one can kill us all. I like that our end can be brought on by cake.
Most realistic. It preyed upon the inherent curiosity and thirst for knowledge seated in every human
It's Mortal
heart.
Kombat, that man.
The same drive to simply know
Okay,
that led to the creation of the SCP Foundation would be humanity's doom in the face of an SCP-096 outbreak. And if such a thing happened, the Foundation would need to break the masquerade of secrecy to have any hope of saving humanity. In his many feverish nightmares, Dr. Dan had seen it all so clearly. The first photographs of SCP-096's face would be leaked online. Perhaps a few hundred people across the globe would look, in disparate enough locations that it would be almost impossible for the Foundation to detect and save all of them, as SCP-096 went on its bloody rampage. Of course, as the image proliferated.
Nah, I'm pretty sure the people would intentionally bait people into that. Like, you remember that like trend on TikTok? I haven't been on TikTok, but I heard that this was a trend. That like they would play a video and then it would just be this guy getting shot in the head. Like, I feel like trolls and shit. Like, if the Shy Guy was real, they would look at him, you know, or they'd find a way not to look at him. Like, they'd make a video of them dancing or some shit, you know, just orange justicing or whatever the fuck people do on TikTok. And then it would just cut and boom, Shy Guy, you're dead now. Like, I'm pretty sure trolls would do that. And I know you're thinking, hey, isn't that kind of like murdering somebody? You know, that's like some like swatting type shit, like getting somebody killed on the internet. And yeah, that is true, but like, the world's kind of ending already, so fuck it. Like, you know, like I don't think trolls would care. They probably already seen it. They're just waiting for the Shy Guy to get to them, because, you know, he's got like a whole line of people who've already seen his face. He has to, you know, get them first, and then he'll get to them. So he's just like, take more people out with me, you know? Fuck it. I'm almost certain that's how it would go down. It would like, TikTok is gonna bring the end to the world in the SCP universe. I guarantee you.
As images on the internet often do.
Yep.
The purview of 096's violence would only grow. People across the nation would start to take notice, and soon after that, across the world. Mysterious creature causing mass casualties would be the headline on every news desk, because why would anybody want to talk about anything else? Perhaps some foolish reporters would take video footage of the creature. Everyone has a phone these days with high-definition cameras. Pictures would be taken and posted. More and more of it would flood the internet. Too many simultaneous moles for even the SCP Foundation to whack. The news would spread. Panic and hysteria would spread.
I just thought about it though. If this happened in our real life, I think the government would turn off the internet. Because that is something they could do. They could just turn off the internet, scrub the internet of that image and anything that looks like that image, and then just restart the internet like nothing happened. Once everything is contained, it's scary, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what would go down. You know, maybe if they don't die first, you know, if they don't, you know, if they're not one of the first people to look at that image, then yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it would go down. But, you know, who knows? Maybe I'm giving the government too much credit.
People wouldn't even know what's triggering all this horror if the Foundation didn't go public and tell them that it was the pictures that was killing everyone. And by then, wouldn't it already be too late? The antidote to fear is knowledge. It's why when anything goes wrong, we're refreshing timelines and feeds and news websites for any kind of information.
I don't know.
If you were told an unstoppable monster was killing scores of people and might be coming to a neighborhood near you sometime soon, wouldn't you want a good look at it? Wouldn't you want to know your enemy?
See, the problem I have with the cure to fear is knowledge, is that sometimes knowledge causes fear. You know, like, what if tomorrow the government, I keep pausing, I'm sorry, we're only 4 minutes in and I feel like I paused like 4 times. But what if tomorrow the government's like, hey, aliens are real and they're coming next week? I guarantee you at least 1,000 people in the US alone would probably commit suicide. Because that would scare the absolute fuck out of them to think that, yeah, like, it's one thing to like conspiracize about it, you know, it's another thing to have those conspiracy theories be made real, like come to life, you know. Like, what if they were like, hey, by the way, there is no core to this Earth. Actually, it is just
Hell, if you dig down deep enough into the earth, you will go into hell, and you'll be stuck there forever.
I guarantee you, more people will commit suicide. Like, there will be mass suicides if, like, knowledge like that was made public, and that's why it's kept secret. I don't believe that, by the way, but I'm just using it as an example. The hell one anyways. I do kind of think aliens are real, but, like, you know, I don't know if we've been visited by aliens, but I do think there has to be life out there in the universe. You know, freaking, what was that quote? I forgot where I got it from. It's like, if human beings on Earth are the only living people, like living creatures in this entire cosmos, then this is a huge waste of space. And I believe that. And I'm pretty sure there is life somewhere out there, you know. You know, what was that spec? This went off on a tangent. I was talking about freaking, this started as a conversation about like knowledge and fear and stuff, and now I'm just talking about aliens. But like, it's that the Hubble telescope just peered off into like black, you know, like there were stars, and then they were just like, okay, let's see what we can see if we just look into like the empty abyss, you know. And they found like 130 million galaxies or some shit. And I'm just like, if you could see that in pitch black space, you know, when you zoom in, then 130 million galaxies, and you're telling me there's no life on that, in those 130 million? Like, come on. That's like, that would be like going hunting on a farm with cows literally everywhere, and you point your rifle and shoot and you hit none of them. You know, it just goes right through everyone somehow. The odds of that happening are very low, and so is no life other than Earth existing in this entire universe, you know? That's how I feel. But yeah, back to the Shy Guy.
Having no idea that the mere act of knowing was what sealed your horrible fate. By Dr. Dan's bleak estimations, if only several million people died as a result of this kind of scenario, it could be considered a positive outcome. He'd seen it all, but no matter how many times he tried to articulate this to his superiors, he wasn't listened to. They didn't take him or the threat that SCP-096 posed seriously. Every time he warned of the apocalyptic potential of SCP-096, he was simply told to get back to working on those goggles. It was why he needed to give those naysayers a demonstration.
Oh, this is the
certain
picture.
Photograph needed to show up in the home of a certain mountaineer. It's why all those people had to die. There was no other way. The deaths of the civilians and the researchers and the mobile task force members were, of course, regrettable, but it was the only way to prevent the deaths of so many more. They gave him what he wanted: permission to put this gangly time bomb in the ground.
But he was killed,
Even if
wasn't he?
The beast's death was inextricably tied to his own execution at the hands of the very employers who authorized him. The world was full of funny little ironies like that. Another one is that even though Dr. Dan now had the authorization and funding to terminate SCP-096, he was discovering that he lacked another important factor: the capability.
The guts.
They tried incinerating
The
it,
balls to do it.
to massive amounts of radiation,
Ow.
exposing it to an insane degree of kinetic trauma, the equivalent of being hit by an out-of-control bullet train. They tested every kind of experimental, off-the-books weaponry that they had access to through various research projects. Proton blasts, lasers, high-intensity energy beams. Nothing. Even when they fried off every scrap of flesh on the monster's body, its unbreakable skeleton still remained, and in what seemed like no time at all, it'd be back in action.
They should have just, like, you know, put the bag over his head, grabbed him by the hand, you know, hey, follow me, put him into like a shuttle, you know, a rocket ship, and just send him into the sun. I mean, GG. Maybe he's not dead, but he's not our problem, you know? Like, he's just floating in space, probably forever. Like, what are the odds that he somehow goes into the sun, comes out, and falls right back to Earth? Really? Doesn't fall on Mercury or Venus, or it goes past Earth onto the moon, or, you know, Mars, or gets shredded in the asteroid belt. No, he falls right back to Earth. Like, come on. No way. Unless he's like swimming in space somehow. Like, certainly the sun would, if the sun doesn't do it, he's not our problem anymore, you know?
very existence seemed to mock him. A guard opened his cell door, staring disdainfully at the disgraced researcher. That same guard had slammed his head against a wall a month earlier. One of his friends had apparently been killed in the legendary 096 containment breach that set this whole sordid thing in motion.
What the hell?
Up and at 'em, scumbag, he said in a gruff, surly voice, training a handgun on the doctor he knew wouldn't fight back. They need you in test chamber 6. Dr. Dan allowed himself a small grin, imperceptible to the guard who clearly hated his guts. They'd approved his 096 versus 682 cross test. Marvelous.
Yeah, that's the one I saw.
Marvelous. To all the others, it would seem like just one more entry in a long line of 682 cross tests. He thought it darkly funny. In his eyes, the Foundation had no hope of ever killing SCP-682. Its defining quality was being impossible to kill, and it didn't present nearly the threat to the entire world that 096 posed. Their futile attempts to murder the lizard were little more than a money sink to justify the site's exorbitant funding. But perhaps he could turn this to his benefit. Maybe SCP-682 would hold the secret to actually killing off his nemesis. Within 30 hours, Dr. Dan had his disappointing answer. Both anomalies had undeniably done a real number on each other, and Dr. Dan did take a kind of sick amusement in the mental trauma that SCP-682 had induced in 096. But ultimately, it was all for nothing.
Yeah, because he really messed him up.
682 had skinned 096 alive and melted off its flesh with acid, but once again, that indestructible skeleton stood firm. This had been the 27th termination attempt since the incident. The 27th failed termination attempt, Dr. Dan mentally corrected himself. 096's skeleton kept defeating them. Even their most ardent attempts to penetrate the bones and destroy the creature within had failed. During a previous attempt, they tried to access the brain by putting a diamond-hard drill into its eye sockets. Of course, it was the drill that actually broke, much to Dr. Dan's seemingly tireless frustration. Needless to say,
what is the skeleton made out of?
In the interview with Dr. Carver, a researcher who once would have considered him a colleague, he wasn't in high spirits. If he managed to kill this thing, then he would always be the hero who made a terrible sacrifice in order to save many more lives. If he didn't kill 096, he was little more than the monster who murdered all those innocent people for nothing. Though you'd never hear him say it out loud. If it wasn't for that damnable, indestructible skeleton, this monster would be long dead already. If only there was some way to break the creature's bones. That's when it hit him. SCP-173.
He specializes in snapping necks.
A Site-19 icon, often overlooked because of its more silent but deadly style, but undeniably one of the most frightening and dangerous anomalies out there. It had racked up a truly shocking body count since it was first interred at Site-19 in 1993, one broken neck at a time. And it's one of the few creatures out there that even the hard-to-destroy reptile himself is utterly terrified of.
Exactly.
Perhaps a monster that practically has a PhD in breaking bones would be the ideal candidate to vandalize the Shy Guy's vertebrae. Once his proposal was greenlit for initial testing, Dr. Dan arranged for the Shy Guy, with a bag over his head of course, to be brought into a testing chamber with the ever-stoic SCP-173. When all of the researchers and guards were safely outside, all it took was a single blink to make all of Dr. Dan's darkest dreams come true. In the nanoseconds his eyes were closed, he heard the most beautiful sounds in the world. A loud, fleshy crunch and a pained howl from 096. He opened his eyes to an equally wondrous sight. 096 doubled over at an unnatural angle. Its spine snapped between the 4th and 5th vertebrae, spinal fluid leaking down the creature's flank.
But that's not like bone, you know? Like, because your spine is like connected, but like there's connective tissue in there, right? Like the spinal cord and such. Like, you could separate those with like a knife. Like, if you like broke... Like, if he like broke his arm down like the middle, that would be a feat, or like a few ribs or something, you know. But separating a spine, I feel, is more that shouldn't be celebrated, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be his downfall.
That freaky little sculpture had done it. It had actually damaged the integrity of the Shy Guy's skeleton. It was at that moment that Dr. Dan knew he could kill this thing. Admittedly, there was a containment breach shortly after that when the bag slipped off of 096's head, and it charged through the nearby steel wall, killing multiple people before being subdued and recontained. But when it comes to projects involving Dr. Dan, a mere handful of innocent people being killed sits comfortably within the acceptable margin of error. A day later, Dr. Dan was standing before a crowded boardroom, with agents, researchers, and even a few members of the O5 Council in attendance. He explained his findings to them, and the fact that, even more importantly, they may have a way to bring the wretched existence of 096 to an absolute halt.
It's weird that he didn't find it suspicious that 173 didn't like go for the neck like he usually does. He went for the spine instead. Like, shouldn't he be questioning, hey, why did he do that? You know, maybe there's a reason for that, you know? And as he didn't kill him, that's the thing. That's what I'm like harping on. Like, 173 damaged him, but he didn't kill him. Like, he was in there for a while. He should have like had plenty of time to, you know, kill him. And why didn't the Shy Guy attack 173 if he literally like looked at him, you know? Huh.
His plans were approved. Not long after, he was putting them into motion. Dr. Dan was surrounded by researchers and heavily armed guards as 173 was escorted into the test chamber with a forklift. 096 was there, still bagged. Off to the side was a giant tub of hydrofluoric acid connected to a hose and injector attachment. If this didn't work, nothing would. Everyone stood back in a safe zone as 173 was released to do its thing. Crunch. Just like the previous time, 096's spine had been successfully snapped. Spinal fluid dribbled down its skin. Everyone had rushed into the chamber. One group kept 173 isolated with their stares. The other, headed by Dr. Dan, prepared the acid injector and shoved it into the breach in 096's spine. As the acid was pumped by the gallon into 096's bones, the creature let out the most horrifying wail. It kicked and bucked as more acid was pumped in, melting those indestructible bones from within. The creature even began to vomit acid as it panicked, melting the bag off of its own head. Some panicked and averted their gaze. Dr. Dan didn't. He stared directly at the creature's face for the first time as it melted in front of him with nothing short of pure elation. Had he won?
No.
Had he actually won?
No,
the creature let out a gurgling shriek and the guards opened fire. Their bullets splattered into the monster's melting flesh and bones as it hollered and shrieked. They didn't let up, firing up and down its body, spraying it with white-hot lead. It began to melt and bubble away, expanding into a great, gruesome puddle on the floor beneath them. Dr. Dan laughed like a madman. Even as the guards grabbed him and dragged him away from the foul-smelling, greasy mess, bubbling with chemical life,
he's gonna come back.
He just kept laughing. Even though he knew the death of 096 meant an equally swift death of his own, it didn't matter. It had all been for something. The world was saved. It was over. He'd finally won.
Are you sure?
Now go check out SCP-096 Shy Guy Escape.
He actually did it. Holy crap. I was expecting like, oh yeah, he bubbled. He looked at him and then he came back to life and freaking skewered him and degloved his face. Like, I was like so expecting him to just come back and murder everybody, you know? But that's cool. He actually did it. Crap. Fair play to him, man. Cause like, the Shy Guy, I never really thought he would be able to be killed. And I know, you know, canon and shit, you know, he's probably still alive in other canons. He probably can't die from that. But like still, in this universe, he's dead. In my canon, the Shy Guy was killed. All right. And that's wild. But I feel like my theory that 173 would definitely be 096, you know, this kind of disproves it. Because all he did was snap his spine and he was fine afterwards. You know, he regenerated or whatever. He didn't all the way kill him. He just incapacitated him, which you could argue is a victory, but like, I feel like victory should be kill. You know, who can kill who? You know, not who can knock out who can, you know, make somebody writhe in agony on the floor for 5 minutes and then get back up like nothing happened. You know, like that's not a true victory. But remember, be sure to subscribe to SCP Explained, awesome channel, awesome illustrations, etc., etc. And be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you would, we really appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.